I was adopted in 1945, and the poems that I've written in this book are responses to David's questions in our writers' group. "68 years. 68 years we've been apart. Life has roiled us to this day where we both wear the same coloured clothes, where our differences simmer and my jeans take a dance. I don't know how you would tell our story. I don't know how you feel meeting me. It's a big ask," says a well-meaning friend. "Anyway, I'm thrilled to meet you. My heart has grown mountains. Thank you for coming." The second poem is called The First Meeting. There were two women, about the same height, meeting in the front garden of the CWA in Decaturville Terrace. The younger one full of smiles, the elder marked by a stiffness, a hesitancy, a reserve. They went into the house. When they reappeared and said goodbye, they did not hug. Another cup of tea. I felt quite still when the moment actually came. The car bearing my mother swept into the drive, and before I knew it, I was opening the front door and welcoming my mother into my world. For her part, there seemed very little expression, but I was overboard with interest in this tiny figure, and an unbounded enthusiasm had suddenly arisen from my heart. It was mid-afternoon, not too cold. The sense of the garden went oblivious. I felt fit and ready for this great moment. The sky was a cool blue. There was no physical contact at the end. This was how it was. I asked her if I could give her a hug, and she said, "Maybe later." Maybe later is all I remember. She walked to the car. Yep, what does it mean? Have another cup of tea. Next poem's called Reflections. Since the reunion with my mother, I feel as though my ground floor has been given to me. To actually behold my mother was a dream, a primal need so cellularly deep that only other adoptees could really understand its grinding yearning. Suddenly, this primal need, after a 54-year search, including a midway rejection by her, and at its start, derision from an official of the Department of Adoption, split open, answered, met. I guess I am sobered by what transpired between us, but also richly moved by the glimpses of my original mum. For example, I shall never forget at our second meeting how she offered me some of her knee warmer blanket to share. How she told me about doing her school homework on the country area school bus. How many years ago would that have been? Probably 80. And how she shared the memory of her mother singing in the kitchen, giving her some peace of mind. Sobered by being asked, "Do you own your own home? Are you married?" This poem's called I Couldn't Quite Believe You. Having looked for you over 54 long years, having given the search everything I had to give, having lived through the sharp, explosive pain of unbelief, at a midway rejection. Did you look at the photos I sent? In your printed note, I think you said you'd only told your husband. Having lived for over 30 years in the not understanding zone, having then discovered details of how unwed mothers were severely mistreated, scapegoated, stigmatised. When we finally met, and a chunk of genetic rootedness finally faced, felt, delighted in, at the end of our third meeting, hearing you say, "That was enough," I couldn't quite believe you. This poem's called Perfect Outcomes. A perfect outcome for me would have been simply to spend some regular times getting to know my mother, just doing the ordinary with her, visiting, taking her shopping, maybe a movie, whatever may have grabbed her. A perfect outcome would be to be given my father's name, and this happened. Connection, a new brother. On the veranda in the early morning, as the kookaburra laughed, in the soft light, he was in his pyjamas, and they talked about the beneficence of the universe. A quiet surrounded them. These two liked each other warmly. And the last one is called Culmination, because of and beyond genes. Standing at my father's grave, a wholeness of being, recognition in us both, acknowledgement at the core of being, true seeing, true knowing, our hearts profoundly, joyously open in relatedness, intrinsically mingled in a lightning bolt encounter as new love streamed.